Hi, I'm Jim. Welcome to Jim's Kitchen. This is going to be the first cooking video that I post, so a little bit of background. It's been a little hit or miss trying to get videos posted. I don't have a video software program yet, so I've been trying to shoot everything in one take, and that's not really easy to do, so I end up reshooting things, trying to get it in one take and getting frustrated. So you're going to see some cutting and clipping in this video because I'm going to succeed this time and we're going to get a video posted. This is a very simple cooking exercise, very much a you too can do this thing. I'm going to make chili bachelor style. It seems terribly simple, or it will seem very simple when you get done, but looking back, this is the recipe that I was able to land my wife with, and she's been with me for 24 years, so I did something right. Also, I noticed something when I shot the first little bit. I look like I have this tiny itty bitty little head on top of this whopping huge body. Part of that's because I'm so close to the camera. Part of that's because I have a single lens camera. We live in a bicameral world. That is, most of us have two eyes. And part of that is because, yeah, I'm carrying a few extra pounds. And it made me very self-conscious when I went back and looked at the first piece of this clip. And then I decided, hey, we are who we are. And part of the reason you're joining me on this video journey is because I really am a guy who needs to lose a few pounds, fix his diet, and I really am going to take this journey with you. So let's get started. All right, step one in this recipe, what you need. You're going to need first either a crock pot, like so, with a ceramic drop-in bowl, dish, or a stovetop type pot. This is a second choice. And I say it's a second choice because it requires you to do several things. You have to monitor it closely, you have to stir it often, because it is much easier to burn your creation in one of those than it is in a crock pot. But if you don't have a crock pot and you don't have the wherewithal to go out and spring for one, use I'm going to tell you at least 6 quart, but you do what you have to do. You're also going to need can opener, a wooden spoon. I recommend bamboo specifically, but I'm going to say a wooden spoon, a spatula, because you are going to fry sausage. That's my choice for chili. You can use beef. I understand that's the overwhelming preference, but I go with sausage. It's just my choice. And a fry pan. You're also going to want to have a strainer, because unless you're going to dice your tomatoes fresh, which is a highly intensive, labor-intensive task, then you're going to resort, like I did, to buying canned tomatoes. You're going to want to strain them because there's an awful lot of juice in them. You're also going to, if you have peppers and you're not using fresh peppers, if you're resorting to canned peppers, which is okay if you're a beginning cook. I was a beginner at one point, and I did it. In fact, I'm going to do it for this particular presentation. Use the prepped and canned stuff, because my message here is you can do this too. Next is the ingredients. At a minimum, you're going to need a pound of meat. Again, I'm using ground pork which, well, I'm using ground sausage this time. On another video, I'm going to present a video on how to create your own sausage using simple ground pork. But this is the beginner step. So go ahead and use your ground chuck or ground pork, whichever you're going to go with, or you can use beef tips or beef strips if you're feeling advanced. By all means, if you're feeling advanced, embellish. You're also going to need a couple of 28 to 32 ounce cans of tomatoes. I have the back of the cans turned. I'm not endorsing brands here. And a couple of 28 to 32 ounce cans of kidney beans, or if you prefer, chili beans, and if you want, you can use 4 15 to 16 ounce cans, because those come with an assortment of chili flavors, and if you want to do that, you can. But a note of caution. There was a road I walked to get to be this big. And the more you let the standard processed food manufacturer prepare your food, the more you're going to get the ingredients that will help you get to where I am as you see me now. I don't want to do that. So, just take that with caution. You want to take the effort to dice your own tomatoes? Good idea. Simply using kidney beans? Good idea. Grocery store brands have less stuff in them than your big commercial brands will. Good idea. If you want to buy dry kidney beans in a bag and take them and soak them ahead of time to get your beans, also a good idea. It's going to take more time, more effort, but I'm going to try and give you the tips and pointers to eliminate stuff like, well, most notably extra salt. That is probably the biggest piece, the biggest single piece of how I got here. Bad food combinations and so on you can find on other videos, but I'm focusing here on how to prepare your own food so that you can avoid the bad stuff because you had a direct hand in it. So on that note, I'm going to recommend grocery store brand diced tomatoes because you can get those with no salt in them. Same for the beans, you can get those with a whole lot fewer additives in them. Now, I'm going to cut ahead a few minutes, but what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to make you watch, is I'm going to open my beans, and I am going to strain them, because otherwise you get an awfully soupy chili. Plus, by straining them and draining them, you get rid of a lot of the stuff that gets added. Even if you use a major market brand of beans and tomatoes, you're going to drain off a lot of the extra stuff that you don't need. So I'm going to drain them. If you like a soupier chili, well, do it with me this way the first time. Drain them, follow the recipe the first time, and that way you have a known baseline. That way, if you send me comments or questions in the comments below, I will assume you're working from the known baseline that I'm suggesting. So, again, drain your beans and your tomatoes first. I'll be back in a minute with that done. I'm back, and as promised, I have the 64 roughly ounces of drained kidney beans and 64 ounces of diced tomatoes, also drained, in my pan or my crock pot. I'm going to slide that back out of the way and turn on the heat to that so that can start warming. Now, next ingredient, banana peppers. Starting out, it's okay to go to the condiment aisle and get yourself a 16-ounce jar of sandwich sliced banana pepper rings. That's fine. Remember, this is a you too can do this, and we're going to get more and more advanced as we go on. But this is a you too can do this video. So, I'm going to put in a plug for Kitchen Shears here. Kitchen Shears make this particular piece really easy to do because we're not mincing these peppers. We're just cutting them up into smaller bits. There's nothing fun about dipping your spoon into your chili, or your fork if that's what you're eating it with, and coming up with a banana pepper that's hanging 3, 4, 5 inches down off of your spoon. I mean, it's delicious, but yeah, you don't need to share your food with your chin and your shirt. So, I'm going to tell you that in the absence of kitchen shears, because if you have kitchen shears, you take it with the peppers still in your strainer, still draining, and you just snip in the kitchen shears. But my kitchen shears have been drafted to crafting duty, so that's actually a benefit because some of you guys may not have kitchen shears. You may just have a butcher knife and a cutting board. You're still in business. Freshly washed hands, and you're just going to cut through the peppers. Again, we're not mincing them, we're just reducing the size of the pieces. So we're going to cut them long ways, then we're going to cut them crossways, and then we're just going to scrape them into the cooking, like so. Nothing dramatic, nothing ceremonial, no big deal. Excuse me while I put these in the sink. Next, we're going to take the sausage and brown it. I would brown it slowly. I would use 1/4 or 1/3 of the heat available on your normal cooktop stove. And I'm going to go do that and then drain the grease off of it, and I'll be back. I want to say a word about the meat that you use. If you're going to go with ground meat, let's talk about ground pork because that's the more complicated option. If you go with ground pork, there might be a tendency to want to go with Jimmy Dean or Tennessee Pride or some other main brand of packaged sausage, and those are fine. Those have some nice seasonings, some nice flavors. That's what you're used to. You can go with that. But let me put in a plug again for grocery store sausage. Go to the meat counter of the butcher shop. They make sausage there too. It won't have as much salt in it. Salt. Yeah. If you like food, you probably like salt in it. Salt is not your friend. There's this thing called a taste bud that's going to lie to you. Mine have. I'm not guessing. But I noticed something. I had an ailment and was admitted to a hospital for a few days to deal with the ailment. Unrelated, by the way. And they put me on a low salt diet. Not a no salt. Just low salt. Just take a few grams out of everything I was eating. That seemed restrictive at the time, but the food was actually quite tasty. 5 days later, I got out and noticed that I was a lot less, well, let's just use the word bloated. I had lost waist diameter, leg diameter. It was really just an improvement all around. And the biggest difference, I mean, I was in a hospital. It's not like I was going out and running track. I know, nobody believes I was out running track. Good, you're not fools. But the point I'm making is that was the biggest change in my lifestyle, was reduced salt. So I'm going to plug the meat counter at your grocery store. Go ahead and visit them. Their meat isn't going to be out for very long, whereas the Tennessee Pride and Jimmy Dean and other major brands, very reputable brands, quality food, very tasty. I don't have anything negative to say about them other than they're going to contain some things to give their food shelf life. And those things are not your friends. So I'm going to get back to finish browning my sausage in this case, but I give you the same advice about any other product you're going to get. There's frozen beef tips in the freezer section, etc., etc. I would give you the same cautions about all of these products. Hi again. I want to take a moment while the meat is browning. Yeah, I know I said I'd get it done first. But while the meat is browning, I want to mention the spices. You may as well have them ready. I use 6 spices in my chili. I use 3 tablespoons of red pepper flakes. I use 3 tablespoons of chili powder, heaping tablespoons. The recipe on the back of most of the jars that I've found on the shelf say 1 to 1.5. To me, that makes for a weak chili. It's chili for crying out loud. So I use 3. But if you know that your tastes run to milder, then go with the suggestion on the back of the bottle. They know how they formulated their chili powder, and they all tend to use the same standard taste. So if it says 1 or if it says 1.5, go with what they suggest. I also use the following: cumin, half a teaspoon; cayenne, half a teaspoon; paprika, I use a half a teaspoon of that; and turmeric, a quarter of a teaspoon of that. How do I measure those? I have a little set of measuring spoons. If you don't have them, they're what, $3 at a grocery store? No big deal. That's one of the videos, by the way, I tried to cut a few times, and I'll get it made. But it's what do you need to basically stock your kitchen with equipment. So look for that video to come. And I'll be back after the meat's brown. I want to take a moment to talk about the spices again. Eagle-eyed viewers or sharp-eared viewers that were paying attention earlier noticed I got the red pepper flakes proportion all wrong. I said 3 teaspoons or tablespoons. You're right, that's 1. Everything else was a half a tablespoon of whatever. Why always a half? Why not, there should have been a couple things like maybe the turmeric that should have been a quarter of a tablespoon. Or, I'm sorry, teaspoon. Those are... The chili powder and the pepper were tablespoons. Everything else was a teaspoon, half a teaspoon, except for the turmeric, which maybe should have been a half a teaspoon. But here's what you do. You make the baseline recipe. And if there's something that's off or that you don't like, you want to figure out what it was you had too much of, take the seasoning, or take each seasoning in turn. Shake some into your hand. Lick the end of your little finger and taste it. And ask yourself, is this what was overpowering my chili? You might think, oh, I like that. I didn't have nearly enough. Okay, up the quantity. But do it 1 spice at a time. Take your time and think about it. And ask, is this what was doing the damage to my chili, or was this what was missing from my chili? And make notes. You know, the beautiful thing about a recipe, once you printed it out, is you can write on it. I don't like a tablespoon of red pepper flakes. It really does need 3. Hey, if you like hot chili, that's the way to go. But we'll talk more about how to make your chili hotter or cooler, options on that in the future. And by the way, if you're wondering about meat options, when I made it for my not yet wife, Jackie, I used ground turkey. Keep your options open. Another little note here to add to what you're doing. I have a saucer that I have taken out to keep my wooden spoon on, because it's easier to put the saucer in the dishwasher than it is the kitchen counter or my stovetop if I'm just laying it on my stove. Say, well, I don't mind. I can clean up my counter. Yeah, but most of you have roommates. In fact, some of you have a spouse. And if you don't mind, then the odds are they do. It's okay. Use a saucer. Hello again. All right, we're back. And I have the spices, the cooked and drained meat, the beans, peppers, tomatoes, all of it together in my crock pot. A word on the meat. Cook it through. Whether you're using turkey or beef tips or whatever, especially if you're using beef tips or beef strips, this is not steak dinner. I'm not out to impress my buddies with medium rare steak. It's chili. Cook it through. So, I'm going to bring this over a little closer to the camera to show you, and you're going to take one look at this and you're going, Jim, that's kind of dry. Are you really sure you should have drained the tomatoes and the beans and so on? Yeah, remember that's where all the salt is? There's this weird thing called water. Yeah, I know, it's weird. I thought it should be more creative too. Are you sure water? Yes. Water is fine. Add some water to it. Or, if you're like me, and you like your foods just a little spicier, remember the banana peppers? I like to add some of the banana pepper, the liquid from the banana peppers. It's spicy, it's tasty, it's mostly water, and it'll wet up your chili just fine. If you're not up for a hot chili, use water. Again, it's not soup, it's chili. Well, actually I shouldn't say that. I've seen some soupy chilies, and I've seen some thicker, more stew-like chilies. And it's your chili. Make it to taste. Just remember, you're going to need some room in that crock, because as the food gets warmer, it's going to expand. And if you add water right up to the brim to make it soupier, because you want it soupier, you're going to have the liquid coming out from under the lid and flooding the lid, and you're going to have a mess. Don't fill it up completely. Keep it down about 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the crockery. Or if you're using this, keep it down a little ways from the top. It's going to help you with stirring, and it's going to prevent the mess. So I am going to add my liquid. Then I'm going to set my, well, in this case it would have been a stove, but I'm going to set my crock on low and walk away. In fact, tomorrow morning I'll come and check on it. It's in a crock pot. It doesn't need to be attended. You'll be done. And if that's attraction enough to get you to go out and spring for a crock pot, good, I've done my job. If you're going to use this, then you need your friend the wooden spoon, and you need to devote some time to it periodically. Come back every half an hour at the most. Have this on low heat, but you're still going to have to come back and attend to it. You might want to turn it off overnight. But, yeah, and that means you're going to put it in the fridge, and that means it's not going to be cooking overnight, and that means it's not going to be the flavorful, stewed, cooked chili that you could have had with the crock pot. And if it sounds like I'm trying to sell crock pots, no, I don't have an interest in Owens Corning. I just think the crock pot's the way to go. So I'm going to set my, I'm going to put water, or in my case, banana pepper juice in my chili. I'm going to set it to warm, and I'm going to let it cook for hours. And we'll be back after that. Hello! We're back to wrap up the first episode of Jim's Kitchen, chili. And some of you sharp-eyed viewers have already noticed there's no crock pot sitting here. That's because the chili didn't last. It got discovered, it got attacked, and it got tied into, and I just didn't have the heart to present a half empty, all right, it wasn't half empty, but still, obviously a tacked crock full of chili. Short version is it went over well. It didn't get the chance to stew overnight. It got attacked that evening when Jackie got home, and I joined her, and yeah, anyway. The link to the recipe is going to be in the comments below. And you will, when you get there, you will see options. Where we get to the spices, you will see an option that talks about using Carol Shelby's or brown box chili mix or the little brown bag chili mix. Hey, you're starting out. And it's okay. Especially if you don't have, if you're so starting out that you don't have spices on your shelf rack, those options may be what get you started. There's nothing wrong with that. My goal here is to get you started. I don't want to leave anybody behind. So you get to the recipe page and you find that there's a shortcut that you can take that gets you going, please take it. There are options about meats that I haven't talked about in this video. There's options about using jalapeno peppers. There's a lot of stuff that may sound complicated. It's not. The recipe starts out with what you need. That's the pan and the pot and the spatula and the ladle, and it's just the stuff you need. The next piece of the recipe is the ingredients. It says you need beans, you need tomatoes, you need some kind of a meat. It says it suggests you use banana peppers, and it offers you the option of jalapeno peppers. It's not complicated. Very simple, very straightforward. We get to spices, it's going to give you some options. First option is going to say, hey, pick a chili mix off the shelf and use that. The second option is going to be the spices that I told you about in this video. As we go forward, we're going to talk about other dishes with variations, etc. Things that are easy to learn how to do, that are designed to build confidence, that you too can join me in the journey that we're going to take, that I'm going to take, that you're welcome to join me on, let's put it that way, on, to get this off, because I don't like lugging this around. And I know there's more than one out there who agrees with me. They've got it and they don't want to lug it around anymore. So we're taking baby steps, but they're steps. They're simple steps, but they're steps you can take and keep. These are not things that are going to prove daunting, that are going to kick your butt, that are going to push you around. Because I don't want to push you around. I'm not going to tease you like so many of these internet ads. There's one food that, and they talk about it for 20, no, they tell you that they're going to tell you about it for 25 minutes, and then you get there and they want money. I'm not asking you for money. Okay, I'm asking you to consider. When you get to my website, at the bottom of the page, you will see a link that talks about Patreon. Sure, I'd love for you to go to Patreon and give me something. It helps me do this. But you're not having to pay to watch the YouTube channel. You're not even going to have to pay to go to the website and see the printed out recipe. There's no bill here. So with that, we'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.